So this is an overview of the hike that we did on last Friday. Took a little break in terms of updating posts. So we did a massive hike on the Saturday, which will be in a separate post. But that one was definitely very high on the difficulty level and took 7 hours or so. And it's Monday as I'm recording this, and I'm still feeling that hike as opposed to this one. This one was a much easier hike to do, and it was the third time that we had gone back to the Cockscomb. There's a number of loops that you can create, and so we decided we would go back to this one for the third time and create a somewhat different loop than what we've done before. Now, part of it is because the trailhead is where you park, which is here, the Aerie Trailhead. Very easy to find a spot to park. Very few people, for whatever reason, come out to this particular area. I'm not sure why. Maybe they just want to do Dome Mountain, which is just over here, or Fay Canyon, which is over here. Only the serious hikers would dare to challenge Bear Mountain, which is up this way. So I suspect, and Boynton Canyon, which is highly popular. So, if you're coming into this area, sort of northwest Sedona for hiking, expect crowds at Boynton Canyon, and there's also a lot of crowds that sort of congregate around this area, the Dry Creek Trailhead, because they want to go to Devil's Bridge. So when we drive up here, it can be quite the circus. At any rate, so the hike, we started here. As you can see here, we traversed 6.34 miles. Our ascent was modest, at about 400 feet or so, and we spent about 4 hours and change on this particular trail. Elevation really didn't move all that much, 4,282, so it's about 4,300 feet, and then 4,600 feet was our peak. So not there was some moving around, but it was not strenuous really. It was a pretty straightforward hike, and as you can see from the blue line here, it comes around the Cockscomb, which was a mountain that we had climbed before, and then we just followed outer limits, which then connected with a couple of other loops leading to the Access Trail, which ultimately led back to the Cockscomb, and that's how we returned. So our loop went, this way. Now, I will say that unlike other trails that we've done in Sedona region, there was a fair amount of this trail that was, it's kind of like trudging through a forest. You don't see the mountains, and you don't really have the same kind of landscape that you would have when you are hiking other trails. So it was a very different type of trail experience. We were alone. There was no one else. We didn't see bikers. We didn't see other hikers. We just, had these, particularly this area here, it was as though we were isolated. Just Lorraine and myself going through this area. But, having said that, it was, another beautiful day out in Sedona, nice sun, and the temperatures are quite mild. We broke for a little lunch somewhere around this area, and I don't know, just kind of did our 20,000 steps, and made our way back to our car, and that was our experience doing the outer limits, I guess we'll call it. It's really kind of Cockscomb outer limits, access, and back, but let's call it the outer limits. That's what we did that day. And with that introduction, let's take a look at the hike. There were helicopters. Must be an important business model for the Sedona tour groups. Helicopters, we see quite a few of them. But the the general landscape as we left the Cockscomb proper and hit the access, is a lot like walking through a forest. You do see the mountains a little bit as you make the turn and the loop back, but for the most part, it's kind of trees, and you'll come across some riverbeds like this one. But generally, the trails are pretty easy to navigate. There's not a lot of challenge with the footpath. So much so, I think, that Lorraine decided to look down to see where her steps were going. We cranked, I think, 18 to 20,000 steps on this particular hike. But as mentioned, is when you do come across access and reconnect with Cockscomb, you do start seeing some of the mountains in the distance. It is pleasant. Don't get me wrong. It's just that we were looking more for a walk than a hike, because we knew the next day we'd be doing a pretty challenging hike at Bear Mountain. But this was a terrific day, as they have been here in Sedona. Just a wonderful area.